if you're gonna do it, you gotta be willing to bust your ass for sure.
What up, y'all? This is episode number 2 of Lessons Learned with your man A1. I'm gonna let my guest here introduce himself real quick.
What's up, everybody? My name is Joonas. Sometimes people call me Joonas. Sometimes people call me Joonas. Sometimes people call me Jay. Yeah, man of many names. But yeah, I play trombone. I have a band called FlowMingos and a couple of other projects that are kind of coming up. But that's who I am, trombone player, cool guy.
So can you just let us know the name of your band and
yeah, so a band is called FlowMingos. It's a brass band technically. It's trombone, tenor sax, bari sax, and drums. And we kind of made a name for ourselves just by busking, which is when you play in the street for money. We would do that, 4 or 5 days a week for the last couple of years, and it proved to be pretty worth it, in the end. So that's us.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I definitely want to talk a little bit about busking real quick. What do you think is the biggest benefit of it?
It's literally a cheat code to become successful. Like, I see like all these artists that are just releasing music and doing the whole internet thing. And I've met artists that have a strong internet presence, right? Like you can look at an artist and they have, let's say, 500,000 monthly listeners. And then you look at my band and we have like 200. But then when it comes to like performing live, like in the city, for example, like FlowMingos, our average draw pre-sale tickets, we normally sell out venues that have 250. So we'll sell 250 tickets before the night even starts, so people can't even get tickets to get in, and that is strictly because of busking.
Damn.
So like the way that we do it is kind of like the second we get the ticket link, we make a QR code and laminate it, and we put it in pink because FlowMingos, like, we're very pink oriented, and we'll make a little QR code and just have it with us every time we play. So after every song, when you're playing in Washington Square Park, you get a little crowd. So you talk to the crowd, hey, thanks for being out here. And then we'll each have a QR code and we'll go find people and be like, hey, you really like us? Like, I'd prefer that you don't put money in our bucket, buy a ticket to our show.
That's smart. I like that.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's a cheat code, dude. It's crazy. Like, and without that, like, we would have never been anything. And like, I'm honestly like amazed that people can like make it without it's just a way to avoid finding like a booking agent or a label or anything like that. Like, you own everything that you do basically. And yeah, like I was saying, like, I know people that have a bunch of followers on the internet and everything, and we feature artists all the time who have like 500,000 monthly listeners, and they always say like the internet just doesn't translate to live performance. Like, you can have 2 million followers on TikTok, but you're only going to get 10 people to your show. Like, I think there's like a big disconnect right now with like internet and live shows. And I'm personally, like, with music and everything, I've always been about the live performance. So that's kind of what busking allows us to do, is that we just we grind it out. Like, we earned every single one of those ticket sales. Like 250 people is because those 250 people basically saw us in the park, and we basically like, we're like, buy this ticket right now.
Yeah.
Well, then you have sold out shows, and it's like awesome.
All right, I want to talk about because I've noticed that like random people that I know that you don't even know, I've seen them post you on their story, like walking to the park or something, which is so dope. But how many like followers do you think it like would translate to, like, in a day or something like that? Because I know that's how you got a bunch of your followers, right?
Yeah, I mean, on a good day, which our best day was always Sundays, we'd get between 50 and 100 followers a day, which is sick. Yeah.
What about a bad day?
Bad day, like 10, 15, but still.
Yeah, that's more than anyone else is getting on a normal day.
Yeah, and then it's also not like, it's real. It's not the, you post a video with hashtags and then somebody sees your video and likes it and follows you and then forgets about you. Like, we are followed because we provided an experience.
Yeah.
And It's busking. Like if you can do acoustic music, and if you're trying to be a musician, just put yourself out there. Like our drummer, he's out by himself right now, and I'm like,
Oh shit, really?
he just started doing this, and I'm like, dude, I guarantee you, if you go out there by yourself and busk, you're gonna be playing with famous artists very soon because he's a really good drummer.
Yeah.
So
So all right. So busking is when you're just playing out in public.
yeah, playing in public for tips. That is the definition of busking. And
like where? Like where in New York?
So I used to be in a band called Dramatics. That was like a brass band, dude playing buckets, four horns, and he actually had permits. So there's like a permit system for the subway. It's called Music Under New York, and you have to audition to get in, all these things, and you get the permit, or you become a member of Music Under New York, and then they just put you in the schedule. So it's like from 6 to 9 above the NQR stop at Union Square, very busy part. You have a permit.
That's a subway train, right?
Yeah, the subway train. Like
for people that aren't familiar with it.
Right. So Union Square is like one of the busiest subway stops, and in order to exit Union Square, you have to get to the top floor, and the NQR is one of the first trains that you get into. And there's a little nook like in between the downtown and the uptown. And that's one of the Music Under New York permit spots.
Wait, so you need a permit to play in some spots?
In the subways, yes. And before COVID, it was really like you don't play unless you have a permit. It's still kind of post-COVID vibes where like it's no man's land. I don't know. It's just like you just gotta go for it and get it. But yeah, we used to do that, and it was just like I just knew every Saturday from 6 to 9 I would play at that subway stop, and we would make 150 to 200 each, playing for 3 hours. And
great.
And it's just crazy, like the amount of exposure. And like, we had a video of ours go viral that was us playing All of the Lights by Kanye West, and it was actually crazy because like we learned the cover.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, I mean, it went some of I got like 1.5 million.
It sounds sick though. I want to see that.
Yeah, it's funny because like I'm wearing shorts that are like above my knees, and most of the comments are about like, yo, this fucking trombone player's got the whitest legs ever.
It's amazing. Hey, engagement.
Yeah, exactly. So, but when we started this band, we were trying to do the subway stuff because we started it in January 2019. So it's the winter. We basically got through. I remember the first time we played outside in Washington Square Park, where permits are not required, but you can't have amplification. So since we're acoustic, it's just 3 horns and drums. We never have an issue with the cops. So the first time we played, it was Super Bowl Sunday. I guess it was still 2019 because we started January 2019. So Super Bowl Sunday of 2019 was the first time we went out and played in Washington Square Park, and we were like about ready to give up because it was like playing in the subway is so tough. Because even if you get, I knew all the permit spots, like I knew all the locations because I'd been doing it for a few years with another band that had the permits, and it's just kind of a thing where it's like, yeah, we can set up, but if somebody with a permit comes, we got to go because legally they're the ones that are allowed to perform there. So we just kind of got burnt out from that. But then that one time we played in the park, it was so sick, and Washington Square Park kind of just became our home after that. And that was always where we go. And you get to know who all the artists are and all that stuff, and you kind of learn like their schedules. So like a lot of the time, like it kind of ended up always being me that would like arrive at 9 in the morning, but we wouldn't start until noon just so I could hold down the spot. So I was like physically there. So like if the guy with the piano comes, it's like, yeah, no, we got the spot. And like that's like it's its own culture, and then like that's kind of the name of the game. It's like, now we're here, like you don't do that, so it's a cool world for sure. So that's what we were doing, and it really brought us a lot of opportunities. Like I remember one of the first like cool gigs that we got was like BuzzFeed sent us an email to our email address, and they were like, hey, like we're doing an event in Miami with Bank of America, and we want to fly you guys out and you guys perform.
Yeah.
We were like, is this real? And then it was real.
It was just like out of nowhere. They just emailed you?
They saw us in Washington Square Park, and then they wanted something. and we were the ones that they hired, and they hired us for a full night and flew 5 of us out for a weekend. It was
Yeah.
great. It was awesome. And that's just the first of many, because like that's basically where we're living now, where it's like, because our branding is so strong, like people, when they want, because brass bands are always wanted by these like corporations, like for their events and stuff. And
Mhm.
uh yeah, so it's just like, but like, yeah, I think it's just the branding is so strong that it's like, that's it. Like, people can go to our Instagram page, see our vibe, see that we're high energy, see that we have a cohesive idea for what we are. So it's very easy to pitch to people that have money to spend, that
Yeah.
it's guaranteed that it's going to be a good time, basically.
Yeah, I think there's just something about like live instruments too that gets people like into it.
Totally.
So let's talk more about like getting gigs like that. So real quick, let's hit them with like a little list of like some really dope spots that you've played or been invited to play at, or venues that you booked yourself.
Yeah, so venues that we booked ourselves and that we've sold out include Groove NYC, which is like a pretty popular spot in Washington Square Park. Capacity is 120. And when we did that show, we did like the early slot on like a Thursday, and we sold before the show happened. The show was sold out. So we sold 120 pre-sale.
And so you're telling me that like all these tickets basically came from people that you met from busking?
Yeah, we just have a little QR code with the ticket link, and then they're just, yeah, it's awesome. And like a lot of the times when we're in that like ticket selling mode, we're like, we would appreciate you buying a ticket instead of giving us $10, because the ticket is $10. Like, just come to our show.
That's so good, because they're gonna drop money anyway, but then this way you're giving them like something back, some value back.
Yeah. So yeah, that was one of the ones. Elsewhere Zone 1, we sold that out. I think that one, the capacity is 250 and our pre-sale was 220 or something, which is an insane number, and strictly because of busking. SOBs, we had like 310 pre-sale, and that capacity is 400, so room was full.
But are these are places that you booked yourself?
Yeah, these are places where I reach out, and I just know, I'm aware of like, when you're booking, if you're booking a show for your band.
Take us through the process a little bit.
Yeah, there's things that you need to know to say. So one of the biggest things is that you have to let them know what your expected draw is. And I've booked for other bands like that I'm in that didn't have like good draws. So that's always the thing that kind of kills it. It's the killer. Like, oh, you can only bring 30 to 50 people. But with this band, and like I had been booking for all these other bands, and then now that I knew that we had this like superpower of just being able to sell as many tickets as we wanted, basically, I'd reach out to these venues that that host like major acts sometimes. But I'd be like, we're a local band, our average draw pre-sale, we were just like settling at 200 pre-sale is like a very solid guarantee. And every time we got there, and when a venue sees that, and then when I kind of provide them with the history of like proof, they're like, oh yes, absolutely, have a Friday night, because you're gonna sell the venue out, and we're gonna make a lot of money because of you guys, and we can all have like a good relationship, basically. So
like essentially, that's just giving you leverage to get a better slot.
Yeah, and then it's also a leverage to get a better guarantee or like a cut, because like certain venues, when you're starting out, they're like, oh yeah, we keep ticket sales until you get to 20, and then after that we give you 80% of the ticket sales. Like for us, it's like we basically say like, yeah, we're gonna keep the ticket sales because we're bringing 250 people, and you guys have a bar, and I know how much money you guys make off of your alcohol sales. Like, you guys don't touch our money, basically. And when you're looking at those kinds of numbers, that's like a reality, and like bigger acts, when you're planning a tour, for example, like if you're a bigger act and you can kind of prove that you have that kind of draw in multiple areas, you can just ask for a guarantee. So it's like, no, you guys are just going to give us $4,000 to play, but your venue is going to be full. Then the band's going to sell merch. Then you make like another 4,000 to 5,000 off of merch sales, but the venue's making like 15,000 to 20,000 off of alcohol sales, so it's like, it's it's a mutually beneficial relationship, basically. But you just have to kind of prove that you're capable of doing that, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Busking is just the cheat code because it's like we just go out there and we sell like 15, 20 tickets every time we play
Yeah. It's
for like
literally
4 hours.
benefiting you in almost every aspect.
Yeah, like it's crazy. It doesn't make sense.
And it's keeping you guys sharp.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
You're
We're always
practicing while
playing.
you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
like playing trombone for 4 hours straight, that's not an easy thing to do. So it's made me a very good trombone player. And like people are always like asking me, like, how can you play your instrument for this many hours? And it's like, because I've just trained my muscles to like accept it. You know, I've been doing this for like 8 years now. And the first couple of years I couldn't play for that long, but you just kind of build like the calluses in your lip so that like it's just there and you can go out and play all day, you know, and that's
Yeah.
like sought after by like many brass musicians, you know.
Yeah. That's dope. So I want to talk about like music. So you have music on streaming platforms, right?
Mhm.
How'd you get
Yeah,
it?
yeah, for sure. FlowMingos, if you look us up, our last EP is called Renaissance. Something that I'm very proud of, a work of art that I'm really proud of. I put in probably 250 to 300 hours into making that project happen. I recorded everything personally,
Mhm.
uh, whether it was in my personal studio where I'm now or bringing my computer and like an interface to the other people's houses and recording there and then coming home. And, you know, you record horns, for example, it's not going to be perfect, but you want the record to be perfect. So then you get into the editing. So I'm literally going through, I have, you know, one of those Renaissance tracks, like there's probably like 80 to 100 tracks. And every single one of them, I lined up all the notes, like I edited it. So I went through the song 80 to 100 times, just strictly off of editing. And then you get into mixing. Um, and we paid somebody to mix the Renaissance EP because I was just like, I can't. I'm so tired after doing all of that. And then somebody masters it. And yeah, I think I listened to it for the first time again in like 6 months the other day, and I was like, you know what, I did a pretty good job. I'm pretty proud of myself, you know. So it's one of those that's standing the test of time, and I guess like you know, the next project for FlowMingos, I just want to do a full blown album, but I want to do it right. So I want to be able to have money to invest into it, and that's when you look at an album and everything and all the time and studio and everything, like I'm looking at like I want to have $20,000 before we record an album, just so we can produce it properly and just pay for things for convenience, I guess, you know, or like
Mhm.
professional sounding stuff. So that's kind of the
I
next
mean,
project. I'm assuming that like the album will probably come out realistically in like 2024, you know, but it's gonna be a fire album. Like we made these songs playing in the streets of New York, and we have a selection of 40 songs, and we just know which songs people react to because when you play in public, you just kind of get. That's another thing. Like you literally get a human response. So
yeah, test
even if you,
audience.
yeah, yeah, and it's like you might think your song is the coolest thing in the world, but you'll play it and people don't vibe with it, or then you make something that you're like, oh, okay, this is all right. But then when you play it, people gather around. So this is literally like an album that's been curated by our audience. Like
Mhm.
there's certain songs that I wish were on the album, but I just know that based off of the audience reaction, it's gonna have to go somewhere else because this is like the hits of ours, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So how did you get it on streaming platforms?
I use DistroKid. I
Me
have like
too. I like them.
yeah, DistroKid.
So what is that for all the musicians that are like wondering how to do it?
DistroKid is just a website where you pay a service. It's a service that allows you to upload your music to the internet. You pay like a yearly fee or whatever, and I pay for the label level of the fee, so I can upload for as many different artists that I want, as opposed to like you could also do like just your individual artist. You want to just post for your band or whatever. But yeah, you literally upload the wave file, you upload your artwork, you put the genres that you classify yourself as, and it takes like if you're a new artist, it'll take like a week. But if you're already on streaming platforms, you can post something and it'll be uploaded by the next day.
Wait, so what platforms does it go
on? Literally everything. Like they have everything. Spotify, Tidal,
Apple,
iTunes, Apple,
YouTube,
Napster.
Google. Yeah,
Napster. Like random shit where I'm like, are you okay? Like, sure, it's crazy. And they're constantly updating it too. So like every time I upload, because when you like upload on actual CD Baby, like when you like look at all your uploads, it'll show like in little squares like what platforms you're on. And the further I go, that list just gets longer and longer. Like they're really good about keeping up to date with all the streaming platforms and stuff. And yeah, I honestly think for anybody that's just trying to get started, just use CD Baby. Like obviously Kanye West and like
DistroKid or CD Baby.
DistroKid, my bad. CD, don't use CD Baby. CD Baby.
Yeah, because they take a percentage or something, right?
Yeah, but they're also old. Like
that too.
Like it's crazy. Because I got my old band, we used CD Baby, and like it's literally like you're talking to somebody in an office, and they only work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. CD Baby and DistroKid is like an algorithm that's built, so like it just happens no matter what time you do it. Yeah,
I personally like them a lot. It makes it so convenient.
Yeah, dude, it's so easy. You literally, like, I've seen you're literally uploading songs when you're on set.
Yeah.
And that's how easy it is. And it's exciting because then it's just like, all right, let's put it. But then you can see the residuals come in, like that's
the coolest part. Like you can literally look at stats. You can like draw the money out.
Yeah. It's like,
it makes you feel like it's doing something.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily the most amount of money, but it's still something, it's like money is money. And, maybe that extra $50 helps you that week.
Yeah, and knowing that we're only getting like 0.001% of the streams or whatever the tiny percentage is.
Gnarly, dude.
Yeah, once you do have some money, you're like, damn, I must have a lot of streams.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude.
So I want to get into like some of the, I guess some of the like boundaries or roadblocks that you've hit, either being in a band or just being a musician in New York. Like what are some of the things that other people could avoid?
Yeah, I think I fall into a bit of an interesting category when it comes to music in New York, because I'm pretty adamant about just doing original music. And as a horn player, for example, most of my friends that are horn players, they play in wedding bands, so they play cover music or they join other people's bands. And it's hard to fight against, you could be a trombone player in a wedding band, play for 3 hours and you get $450 to $700 for a gig, so that's basically, this is like a very real struggle with like all of the horn players in New York City. Like I know the brass band scene in the city, and that's every summer it's just a shit show to like get people to be available because everybody's just playing weddings. And something for me personally, like I don't want to sacrifice. Music is such an emotional thing for me that I don't want to jeopardize it by just playing covers. Like so that's why
it takes the fun out of it almost.
Yeah, and that's why I like have fallen into like I have a side hustle basically. Like I'm making my money elsewhere so I can keep my art as true as it needs to be.
Yeah.
And I just know a lot of people around me that like choose to do the wedding stuff, and it's not like I don't judge them or anything, but like I also just like I can't personally do that. Like that I just refuse to wear a suit and play trombone and play Bruno Mars for like another group of rich people that are getting married. Like that's just something that is so beyond like my levels of interest. Like I just won't do it. So I kind of just find my money in other places. And now that's why I'm saving up so I can then live in my studio where I'm right now. Like I'm just going to live here for 2 months after I have money saved up and make dope original content. I think that's a reality for a lot of creatives, like, especially if you're trying to do the original thing, like you're going to have to make money elsewhere. Like it's just a fact, and the music industry is like the most savage of like, I think any industry, because it'll, you could pop off, but you'll get forgotten real quick and that money's not going to be there forever. So if you're going to do it, you got to be willing to bust your ass for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also possible. it's just the move is to have another source of income, so you can just do it on your own time, and then you know, like, not worry about money, because so nice to not just be a starving artist. Like, honestly, not being a starving artist is allowing me to make music that I kind of have been wanting to make. I'm like able to just like actually have peace of mind when I can like lock myself in for a few days, and like I don't have to worry about bills or feeding myself or anything like that. Like I can just sit here and be like, no, let me just like use my brain, and like in its fullest capacity.
Yeah. Real quick. All right, so I didn't know that. I guess Zoom put on a time limit now because they want you to fucking pay for it. So I have 1 minute left.
Yeah,
I could call you back and we could talk more, or we could end it now. It's up to you.
I'm down to do. Let's end it and then do another one.